Optimus Prime riding on a giant robotic dinosaur. How do you screw that up? Transformers Age of Extinction is directed by Michael Bay, written by Aaron Kruger, and this time does not star Shia LaBeouf anymore, but stars Mark Wahlberg and Stanley Tucci, and features the voices again of Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, and Mark Ryan as both Bumblebee and Lockdown. Now, in Transformers Age of Extinction, because of the events of Dark of the Moon, all these Transformers are being hunted down by the government. Both Autobots and Decepticons are being, captured by the government and this bounty hunter named Lockdown. However, somewhere in like Texas or something, Mark Wahlberg plays this guy named Cade Yaeger, who's an inventor, who finds and fixes a broken Optimus Prime. And Optimus Prime rallies together the remaining Autobots and they decide to go find out like what's happening with the Transformers, like why the government wants them. Now I can't help but feel like this is an attempt to reboot the series because number one, they took out Shia LaBeouf and stuff, and from what I see, this movie is really being marketed as like a more serious kind of version of the Transformers, no holds barred. And the problem with these Transformers movies is that the trailers always make them look really, really cool. I mean, this movie has been sold on the image of Optimus Prime riding a dinosaur. The trailers have the parachuting Autobot with like akimbo machine guns or whatever, and you had Lockdown with his face turning into a gun. I mean, all these things are just they're really, really cool. But the problem is that they never follow through with it. So obviously, I do not think Transformers: Age of Extinction is a good movie at all. Not only do I think it's not a good movie, I think it's almost as bad as Revenge of the Fallen. First of all, the running time of this movie is absurdly long. Like, it's not even funny anymore. This movie is 2 hours 45 minutes long, and I swear it could have been like an hour 20 or something. This movie has that curse of being both like abrupt in places and both really draggy in places, so like you can't really follow it because it just keeps stopping and starting at weird times. Any semblance of flow that this movie establishes is immediately killed by like a stupid scene with mostly involving humans. And what's so funny to me now is that the human story in this is so shallow, like compared to the big, thing that's happening with these robots. An almost complete lack of urgency in this movie. Like, nothing really does feel at stake. And here's the thing with the stories of these Transformers movies. Like, the plots always go for, the spectacle route rather than go for, more inner conflict and stuff. Like, all these premises that these Transformers movies have had are really, really promising in terms of like what you can milk out of it, but they never do that. I mean, just the fact that the Autobots are being hunted down by the humans they were protecting and helping out, like that's like a gold mine. You can take so much emotion from that, but they don't do that. Instead, they go for like a different route where there's absolutely no emotion. All the human characters in this movie are ridiculous. All the robots are ridiculous. Mark Wahlberg's Cade Yaeger guy, you don't buy that he's an inventor for a second. And the entire movie is just concerned with the fact that his daughter is dating some other dude, and like you don't care about the daughter, you don't care about the dude, and so his whole predicament is just really, really stupid and useless. Stanley Tucci's character, he really, he could have been a good character, but I think he just devolves into John Turturro's character from the first three movies. And the character of Optimus Prime in this movie, like, they just make him so inconsistent because, at first he doesn't like humans because they've been killing his kind and stuff, but then, he does help them out anyway, and you don't really know where he stands. All these Transformers are absolutely the same. There's nothing to really differentiate them. They're just good and evil, and whatever. Lockdown is a very interesting character. And the dialogue in this movie is really, really bad. Like, whenever Mark Wahlberg has to insist that he's an inventor and he has to do this because that's what inventors do, you don't buy it. And everything the Transformers say feels like it's meant to be written on like a giant poster, promotional poster or something. Okay, I'm just gonna make my voice louder because construction started, so I don't know if my voice is getting louder, but whatever. Mark Wahlberg's the kind of actor who can't save a bad movie. Like he can be really good in good movies with good scripts, but he's not good enough to salvage this movie. As the main character, he just does not really bring anything to the table. And again, you don't believe the fact that he's an inventor. And whereas Mark Wahlberg can't save this movie, I feel like Stanley Tucci tries too hard to save it because he is good in everything he does. However, I feel like he's just too good for this movie and like he overcooks it a lot near the end. And everyone else is totally forgettable. Like I don't even know the names of the daughter or the boyfriend, but and even like the Transformers, like it's such a shame that Peter Cullen, who's been doing this voice for so long, like he's not really regarded as like, oh, he does a great job, voice acting, because lots of other animated movies they have great voice work in them. However, Peter Cullen really does feel like he's just phoning it in at this point, and Mark Ryan, who does Bumblebee and Lockdown, it's not very unique at all. And the action directing from Michael Bay in this movie, like it really took a huge step down from the last like 45 minutes of Dark of the Moon. Like the action directing in this movie is so stale. I was falling asleep at the end with the big action sequences. Like it was just so dull and vapid. It really feels like Michael Bay's just run out of creative juice at this point, and he really misunderstands what a character moment is supposed to be, and his attempts at putting character moments are put like in the middle of like action scenes where it's supposed to be all serious and tense, and then he puts that in there, and the tension just deflates. Michael Bay in this movie really, really, really does come off as this kid who's just looking for stuff to blow up or stuff to make jokes about. And again, the only positive I can ever give this movie are the visual effects, and at times they are very, very good. And Michael Bay owes his current career to his visual effects team. Like without them, he would be absolutely worthless, and they really deserve way more credit than they get. However, even the visual effects aren't flawless because there are some very, very bad and obvious green screen parts, which is very surprising. And there's also like, there's some Transformers who transform like into blocks and it looks really fake. However, these little things are kind of redeemed by some unique parts and some very, very rare dark moments, like some of the Transformers being hunted down. Like I thought some of that stuff was actually pretty cool. But in the end, Transformers Age of Extinction is absolutely ridiculous. There's nothing, you don't need to go out and watch this movie. You didn't have to wait this long to see it, like me. In the end, it really is just a bad movie, and the ending of this movie promises like a lot, and it might get you excited. But 4 movies in, and we know what we've come to expect from Michael Bay. However, I understand there's an audience for this kind of movie though, and I won't knock on them for liking it because there are things you can enjoy about it. Just that, in my opinion, I don't really like this movie at all. Alright guys, so that is my review of Transformers Age of Extinction. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.